Hi friends, it's me, the real me. I thought I would make a reaction video to the latest Castle Siege video that was just released the other day. So let's watch it together. Intrepid logo. I used to use this as my logo until I realized that it's not my logo. Okay, here comes the castle. There's some rain, a tunnel, the objective. Look at these walls. These castles look solid. They look like they weigh 2 tons each. Trebuchets with the flaming things smashing into things. Look at the people with the glowy swords and stuff. Look at the mist, the wetness on the stones. You can almost smell it. You can almost feel it. Look at the rain. Oh my gosh. That looks awesome. I like how it's at night. I think this is the first night scene we've ever seen too. We've seen the world at sunrise, in the day, at dusk. That was pretty awesome. Obviously my reaction was a little subdued there because this is like the 4th or 5th time I've watched the video. If you're watching during the Twitch cast, it probably blew your socks off like it did mine. It's pretty awesome. This is live gameplay captured from a game that the developers played with each other. So Castle Siege mode is live. It's active. People are playing it. The problem is they can't get 500 people into the game. They could maybe get 200, but they don't want that. They want 500 people in there. And that's the holdup with the game, and that's why it's taking so long. It looks fantastic to me. I'm ready to play right now. Like that big gigantic pillar that you see in the castle, you have to bust your way into the castle and surround that pillar and then stay there for a certain amount of time. Like its health meter starts going down. And if that's how you capture it. If you stay there for a certain amount of time, you capture the thing and you win the castle. So that looks fantastic to me. That looks fantastic. Anyway, to coincide with the release of the video, Ash has also released some stuff on the website. And let's take a look at that now. It's screen caps from the actual game that we just watched. Look at those towers. Can you stand up there and throw rocks on people? I want to stand up there and drop rocks on people. Look at the walls. Look how solid it looks. Doesn't that thing look like it weighs tons? It looks like a castle. It feels like a castle. It has weight to it. I like it. I love it. Not like a fake front or something. That thing looks like it weighs tons. So this is what the website says. Castle sieges are intended to be massive events with hundreds of people involved in a single siege. One of the reasons that Ashes of Creation Apocalypse exists is so that we can address the challenges in ramping up the number of bodies that we can handle simultaneously. With our latest test hitting over 200 simultaneous players, we're ready to push that number even further. Our goal is to have the largest organized PvP battles of any MMORPG. PvP is player versus player. For every play, there should be a counterplay. We often see Castle Sieges turn into Zerg fests, which really doesn't capture the epic back and forth battles we wish to see in Ashes of Creation. One of our key pillars is that choice matters, and that applies to tactics and strategy as well. A well-formulated battle plan should win out over stat sheets and bodies. Zergs will generally be difficult to pull off, and will be eminently counterable through siege weapons, traps, and other battlefield tricks. So Steven is a guild leader, and he doesn't like Zergs. Should you be deft enough to take a castle, you'll now be responsible for managing it. Castles will have their own nodes associated with them, and developing and defending those nodes will determine the state of your castle during the next siege. If you've done a good job managing your kingdom, then you'll have more and better options available for deployment during the next siege. If you let your populace fall to ruin, you may have to rely solely on your own devices. What that means is, There's going to be 5 castles in the world, and each one has its own zone of influence. In each of those zones of influence, you can have villages, towns, metropolises, whatever. So the castle rules over all of them. It rules over the kingdom. And as your kingdom grows and becomes more wealthy and powerful, it gives the castle more powers. It unlocks defensive and offensive weapons, different building types. It makes your castle stronger. With 5 castles in the world, and each having been owned by different civilizations from the far-flung past of Vera, you can expect that each castle has its own character. Different terrains and different layouts will result in each castle having its own advantages and disadvantages. Just because you have managed to take one castle will not mean that your strategies will pan out for the next. Commanders will have to take into consideration the lay of the land, time of day, weather, and even seasons when forming their battle plans. Every class and profession has something to bring to the table during a siege. Whether it's a cabal of summoners working together to call and bind a behemoth from another plane, or a pair of artisans creating a new weapon of war to defend the walls. Choice matters, even in a siege. Again, the sense of counterplay is important to us, and deciding who to bring on a siege will depend on your resources, who you are fighting, and where you are doing the fighting. Maybe this month you want to try for the Dusenkel Castle, but the server has been light on high quality wood, and you won't be able to deploy as many siege weapons as you want. You bring more summoners to try for another behemoth, and hope they can maintain control? Or do you double down on subterfuge with your rangers and rogues, entrusting them to get behind enemy lines and get those gates open? These castles are occupied when players arrive on Vera, and their current inhabitants will have to be removed before any player can claim them. Castles will be dangerous in high-level raid zones until they can be cleared, and the first group of players to do so will gain the castle as their reward. Don't freak out and start crying about the people that get to go into the game 1 or 2 days early, taking all the castles, because castles are going to be hard to take, and when you first start the game, you aren't going to have any weapons. You aren't going to have trebuchets or catapults or anything powerful enough to take a castle. Castles have direct power over the nodes that belong to it, but also have soft power across the entire region it belongs to. All nodes belonging to that region pay fealty to the castle in the form of taxes paid directly to the castle. The monarch sets the rate and can use those proceeds to upgrade defenses, maintain the castle's direct nodes, or provide buffs and benefits to the citizens of that region as the magnanimous ruler that you are. As a siege rages on, there is a sense of territory and progression through the battle. These are represented through control points, and each side starts with a few already owned. Others are present but neutral. As control points are captured by one side, that side gains a temporary buff and an increase to their spawn rate. The other side will find that their spawn rate has decreased, and their ultimate victory condition has been pushed just a little bit further from their reach. The spawn areas also have a portal which will allow the side that owns it to teleport to any control point that side owns. Perfect for backdoor shenanigans. And then they had some images of the objective that we have to capture, and it says, "We're working on a destruction engine that should help us to make a castle siege that feels cinematic and visceral. Having shards of the walls tumble to the ground after a trebuchet scores a hit will feel satisfying in a way no other castle siege has been able to offer in an MMORPG like this. Maybe you don't need to take down the whole wall. Maybe if you blow open a big enough hole, that'll be enough to turn the tides." So I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, how come the dwarf is only like 4 inches shorter than the human? It wouldn't be a castle siege without siege weapons. These are massive machines of war that enable attackers to bring down the walls and defenders to keep their keep safe. Crafters can bring their own powerful schematics to the battlefield, or you can order baseline siege weapons from your friendly neighborhood's siege master NPC. The castle's defenders will be able to deploy their own defensive weapons and turrets based on how well they maintained and defended their own nodes. The sky will be illuminated with fire and fury. Fury. So I'm looking at this image and I don't know what it is. There's a gauntlet and some kind of baptismal font. It looks like you can recharge your gauntlet? And then what's the dwarven thing? The little words say shattering, dismantling, and unwinding. What is this thing? If you know what I'm looking at, please leave the answer in the comments below, because I don't know. Thanks for watching this video. And please keep on watching and subscribing and liking and doing all that wonderful stuff that you do. See you next time.